The new dicamba labels are now out for Ingenia, XtendiMax, and Fexapan over the top of Xtend crops. And one of the changes from the label we had last year to what we're seeing here as we go into 2019 is the buffer requirements. And they've probably been one of the most misunderstood of all the requirements we've had over the last year or two, just trying to actually pin down what a buffer is, what a sensitive area it is, and so on and so forth. I think we've kind of educated on that, but we will do that again through the dicamba training. But one new addition that really reflects on these buffers is for counties with listed endangered or threatened species. Not only do you have a 110-foot downwind buffer, but on top of that, you also have a 57-foot omnidirectional buffer, as it's referred to on the label, which is all the other sides of the field. So it only applies to just a dozen counties in the state. So in West Tennessee, it is Madison County, Chester County, and McNairy County. And then in Middle Tennessee, where you have to have these buffers, it is Davidson, Franklin, Grundy, Murray, Montgomery, Polk, Rutherford, and White. And in addition, of course, Wilson County, which was listed last year, you can't spray dicamba in that county, period, no matter what the form is, haven't been for some time. So as I mentioned earlier, these buffers can be a little bit cumbersome to try and understand. And so in this example, we're just going to try and help illustrate what we're looking at as far as buffers. In this field, we've got a wind 5 to 7 miles per hour going from left to right. And so on the right hand of that field, you would need a 110-foot downwind buffer because you have that tree line in there, and there's potential threatened or endangered species. You would need that. It's not because there's dicamba-tolerant soybeans around there, it's because of that tree line. Then for these endangered species county, you're going to need a 57-foot buffer on the upper or north part of the field, also a 57-foot buffer on the upwind side of the field, or the left side of that field, and then another 57-foot buffer in these counties with endangered species or threatened species on the south or the bottom part of that field. So, and things you can use for buffers are like that tree, especially on the south side of that field. The bottom of the field is the road and the managed area around there. Because again, if you can drag a mower over it, that's considered an area that can be used as a buffer. But if it's a tree line, a natural area, then those can't be, and you're going to have to back off into the field. The other thing that can be a little cumbersome on that label is it says you can use as a buffer places that buildings are in. And that's yes and no. So it's no if it's a residential area. Those are now listed or lumped into sensitive areas, and we got to be very cognizant of them because folks can have a lot of sensitive vegetation in their landscaping, gardens, trees. But if it's a house, if it's a shed facility, it's got hog confinements where it's being mowed around and managed around, but it's not a residential area, then you can technically use that as part of the buffer. So just a quick illustration of what to look for, especially in these counties with this additional new regulation of a 57-foot omnidirectional buffer on top of the 110-foot downwind buffer with respect to endangered or threatened species, protecting those. That is the new wrinkle to these buffers as we go into 2019 from 2018, where for certain counties that have listed endangered or threatened species, we not only have to have a 110-foot downwind buffer to where these plants may exist, and it's terrestrial broadleaf plants, as well as an omnidirectional buffer around the rest of the field. And you might ask, well, what are some of these endangered species? I wouldn't know it if I saw them. I've seen what they're listed on the EPA website. You can go there as well. There's like the world sunflower and the Spring Creek bladderpod. There's several, but that's kind of the new rules and what we have to be mindful of as we go into 2019.